All right, John, and less good news. Capcom has a big balance problem in Street Fighter V. Watching this last week's Capcom Pro Tour event in China, it became really apparent there's just a big issue with some of the characters in this game in Street Fighter V right now. In all the top 8, there was one match that did not feature a Urien player. One out of the 10 sets that were ran. Then in the top 16, 75% of the sets featured a Cammy and Bison or Urien player, and a couple of those sets were only those characters. I went off on Twitter just saying how bad of a balance issue Capcom has with easy to play characters, just scumming people out, and I wanted to back it up with data. So I went back and I looked at all the major tournaments we've covered since the latest major balance update that came out in late February. At number 1, hands down, was Urien with 37 spots in tournament. Cammy was second with 31, and Bison was third with 25 overall. Keep in mind, this is only since they did their latest major balance update, because a bunch of people are going to be like, oh, you're talking about old tournament results and other stuff since, the game has been changed. No. This is since the game has been major alterations and these characters were nerfed, right? From a balance perspective, just Capcom has not gone far enough with these characters. And
this is since V-Shift?
This is since V-Shift.
Okay.
And this is late February. This is not like a long time ago and stuff like that. This is a handful of months back, basically. Yeah. And the big problem that I have with these characters is, again, they're just too damn easy to play, and they're too strong for being that easy to play. And I appreciate Capcom knocking all these characters down in the past. In the most recent update, it was very clear, hey, they targeted these characters, but they did not go far enough. And there's a really simple solution here too. And with the Oro patch that's coming up, put in more changes to these 3 characters specifically, so that their tournaments, the Capcom Pro Tour, is not dominated by these characters. Because I don't freaking tune into the CPT to watch the same 3 characters over and over and over and over again. The same 3 characters I've seen for the last 4 years, and the same tactics and other stuff like that. I want to see some new stuff. I don't care if they're peppered in here and there, and every now and again, hey, Urien, Cammy, and Bison, they pop up here and there. That's fine. They are dominating the tournament scene. The Chun-Li player, I think he played 19 straight games or something like that against a Urien player, and it's just, that is horrible. That is, you have 42 characters in this game, and you have 3 of them that are just completely dominating in terms of how present they are at tournament levels. And it's really upsetting to me, because again, I love watching the Capcom Pro Tour, but I don't like watching this crap. And so what I do now is I watch the archive, and when these matches come up, most of the time I'm skipping them, because it's like, I don't want to watch Urien again for the 100 billionth time. Why would I? And if I'm hardcore, and if I'm not wanting to tune in to watch this stuff, how many other casual people are even going to tune into it? It's like, how many, you could go online and face Urien that many times. So
yeah, for those that didn't see it, we did a story on this. It's on the front page. Here's the headline: One Chun-Li player's top 16 run featured 19 consecutive matches against Urien in the Capcom Pro Tour 2021 China. That's amazing. And sure, maybe that happens once in a while and such, but just that in and of itself makes me kind of have to turn my ear a little bit more in your direction when you say that there's an issue here, because as crazy as that is, maybe it's a one-off and then fine, fair enough. But the fact that it happened at all is head-turning. And I do want to say that we've been talking about balance since the beginning, which is appropriate, the beginning of Street Fighter V, and they've made a ton of progress. And I do think it is a good thing that we are talking more about the top tiers that are easier to play, and that the conversation isn't that these guys are just overwhelmingly better than everyone. It's that they're better because they're easier. Now there can still be regulation there, and I think that we should continue to do so for as long as the game's out. Just anytime you see that it's not perfect, make it a little bit closer to perfect if you can, and then I think you can here. But it is a good look that we're talking about it's easier to play these characters, and that's why they're getting their play, as opposed to these are the characters that you win with. And because I do think that we are at a point now, like I've said with Lucia, where she's not easy to play, but I think there's a really high ceiling, and that's good to have in there too. But yes, you run into the problem that you're turning people off from all those harder characters because they just have relatively easy modes with characters like Bison, Cammy, or Urien.
You're right. So I'd like to see some new strategies and approaches for high-level tournament players that just don't have this plethora of the same crap over again. It's like, I haven't seen anything new for Cammy in a long time. It's like, I can't recall the last time I saw new tech for her. I'm sure it exists, but picking it out of the freaking, the plethora of just constant normals being spammed and the crap I've seen, it's hard to do, and it's like that's not fun. Like these should be an entertainment based, exploration of the game. Like and it's supposed to explore the DLC you're putting out there, not the base product you put out 5 years ago, right? So anyway, what I would do here with Cammy, Bison, and Urien is I'd knock probably all of them down to mid tier. And even then, they would still actively being played in tournament because they're easy to play, right? Like,
and they have a reputation, yeah.
And there's a bunch of people who play them and all that kind of stuff. And it just, the fact that these characters are all high tier is awful. It makes the CPT a chore to watch when these characters come up. And again, I don't mind them here and there. Like, it's like here and there, it's like, oh yeah, let's watch some Bison, let's watch some Cammy, let's watch some Urien. It's fine. It's just the tournament scene is dominated by these characters right now, and it's ridiculous. And it's been that way for far too long. And so anyway, it's really what it comes down to is just like, this is not a good product that Capcom's putting out there right now. And it could be a lot better with a few simple tweaks. And it goes back to your methodology of this. It's like, look, if these characters are a problem, with every patch that you have coming out, just dial them back a little bit. Just make like Bison's like Psycho Axe, like maybe 0 on block or something like that. Maybe that's too big of a change. Maybe you alter the damage on it and knock it down by 10 or do something like that. Do something to acknowledge that these characters are legitimate issues and that they're dominating the tournaments, and just throw the community a bone, because we're tired of dealing with this and we're tired of watching this every time. And the players, like, you can't count on the players to not pick these characters. Why would they not pick them? They're trying to win, right? And when you have a very clear problem like that, where these characters are easy to play, they win a lot, what incentive is there to go pick up another character that you've added to the game? It's like there's none. It's like, well, if I want to win, this is an easier route and these characters are great. Why would I not do this? And so that's where Capcom has to step in, and why I'm very upset with them, and why I say they have a major problem here, is that they need to address it. This is not on the players. It's not, if you play these characters, all good. Like, that's fine. I get it. I have no real direct issue with that. My issue here is with Capcom not realizing this is a problem and not just constantly scaling down these characters that have been an issue for 4 years.
So and you said you would hope to see this done as early as whatever the patch comes to put Oro into the game, right? The next DLC character, which we don't know when that's going to be yet. There's a decent chance that it won't be this month. It might be next month for Evo, with a potential double with Oro and Akira, but that's just a guess. We haven't heard anything about it. But yeah, so then I guess that funnels back into the discussion about how often these games should be updated. Maybe every time you see that there is something that you could make better about it, make that better about it. It doesn't have to be this major overhaul, man. But it's murky waters every time we go and to talk about how we would change these characters, and like, what do you do to Cammy? Do you reduce her utility? Do you just simply reduce her damage output and make her as easy as she is to play, but still, doesn't hit as hard, so she has to do it more times? I don't know.
Yeah.
I suppose that's where I'd start, but
one of the easiest things that you can do is damage and stun. That's something that I know that they did that like with Rose in Ultra Street Fighter 4, and they just boosted her damage like on all of her main attacks, and she went from like a low tier character to a pretty high end character, that works really well. And so, but it works both ways usually. If you adjust damage and stun values, you're usually knocking down a character pretty darn decently with those. So it depends on what, if let's say, for example, that Cammy lost 10 damage on her heavy and mediums, like just all the normals that she has, like that would be very significant. That might be too much. And so, I would start with just like knocking down a few of them. But there's a lot of ways to go about this. But that is an easy way of doing it.
Now, I also have to wonder, with this is an online tournament, and we talked last week in one of your segments about how certain characters will benefit from online. All three of these characters were on your list, right? Cammy, Bison, and Urien. Is some of this just owed to the fact this is being played online, and that maybe it's, well, there's a deeper conversation, but maybe the balance should be made for the online side of things, and like with that in mind, or should we just be aiming at like the game offline, because that might be like the thing that puts these three over the edge in terms of what you're talking about here?
Now, Cammy was not on the list, but Urien and Bison were.
Okay.
But again, most people are playing this game online. That's the way they consume it. If you're not factoring that into your game's balance, what are you doing? You have to look at what the majority of players are doing and alter that. Yeah, the tournament level, the top level in play, which you and I are both Grandmaster level players. We're tournament level players. We've placed in tournament. We know how to do this stuff. And we're complaining about it still too, because we care about the game's balance. It's a tired argument for only balancing around just the highest end of play. You have to look at what the majority of your players are experiencing and saying, let's look at this and try to make the game collectively overall better. And then that might hit the high end, and that's fine. It's like, but even then, the high end, like we're seeing this in tournaments. Yeah, it's online tournaments, but we were seeing this before in offline tournaments. It's not like these are unknown characters who were never, hitting the scene. It's freaking Cammy, Bison, and Urien, some of the winningest characters in the history of Street Fighter V.
Can't disagree too heavily with you there. But what do you guys think? Comment if you agree, and if you disagree, then like and share with all your friends.